Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. I am Coach Ian Bickle and I am here to help you with your health, fitness, nutrition and all of that good stuff. So today I am going to talk about the importance of structure within your nutrition, and this has been brought about by a kind of question that I was asked, and I'll read that question out. And generally with everything I cover on this platform, it's going to be something that a lot of people kind of struggle with, so I'll read it out now. I know this is something we've discussed a little before, but something relating to maintaining structure with nutrition and training during high stress periods would be helpful. I'm not talking counting every macro, but just maintaining some balance. It's probably a little related to emotional eating, which I know you've covered before, but I think maintaining routine is bigger than that. So with anything of this nature, I've got to make a lot of assumptions about the individual. So I do know this individual is a CrossFit athlete, trains very hard, but also is a parent like myself and has a full-time job, etc. But this is obviously how we can periodize our training in a manner that kind of works with our life as opposed to against it. Now, this is a lot of issues that people run into as they get older, and quite often I hear, I wish I could do that. I used to do that when I was younger, but what we need to do is just become better at managing things like fatigue. Now, this systematic fatigue can be accumulated not just physically through training, but also through psychological stresses. Now, if you compound the two, it's just going to make things even worse. It's going to exacerbate things further. So when I'm planning people's programs, the question is, are they going to be able to recover from said training? And obviously things like nutrition is going to be hugely influential, as well as sleep and as well as downtime and stress management. And if everything outside of the gym and outside of their fitness is kind of up in the air and on fire, if you'd like, we have to take that into account. Now with me, I have my priority list, and on that priority list is nutrition, fitness, weight management, my son, my family, my wife, all of these things, my friends, my business. And what will happen within my life is these will never ever go in and out of the priority list. They are always in there. But where they stack up is different. So right now I'm dieting, so getting closer to the top is my nutrition. My son, my wife, my business are always the first three, but then the rest of the list will kind of be prioritized. So again, nothing's completely out, but sometimes when we're going through like large times of stress, maybe we need to kind of take nutrition and not take it out the priority list, but take it down the priority list. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people get into what's the point thinking, and they end up just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to irrationally react. We need to be kind of have a little bit of common sense and think big picture. Accept that you're going through a high stress period and maybe it's not the best time to push things. So maybe reducing training volumes to more of a maintenance range, eating at maintenance calories, and maybe not pursuing fat loss or muscle growth for that given time, and just getting all your ducks in a row until you can do. One of the most important things that I recommend people do from a nutritional perspective and lifestyle perspective, training perspective, is have structure. Of course, what this allows us to do is not exert any motivation or willpower, because motivation and willpower is fairly fleeting, and what we want it to be done, what we want to do is have the majority of our stuff habit driven. This is why we must take into account of, right, what are our goals? What is it we're trying to achieve? And how best can I fuel that? And how can I recover from that? So for me, with most people's nutrition, including my own, first and foremost, protein. Okay, I like to have that at 4 to 5 intervals throughout the day. 4 on shorter days, 5 if I'm up stupidly early. Because of muscle protein synthesis, and this is going to help optimize recovery, especially if we are an athlete that are trying to gain muscle and recover from training. The intervals of these protein feedings tend to be around 3 to 4 hours apart, maybe upwards of 5. I'm not overly anal, but anything from 3 to 5 hours apart is absolutely fine. Where the rest of the calories go is up to you, but typically I like to have the majority of carbohydrates pre-training and on an evening, on a nighttime, because that's where we typically have our main meal of the day. Me and my wife get to eat together. It's got its social element, and we've got to remember with nutrition, the most important thing is long-term compliance and adherence. The next thing I want to consider is my training. What days am I training? When am I training? And as I mentioned, the nutrition around those training sessions are going to be super important, because what I want to do is have some sort of consistency within each training session. So I know my pre-training meal could be something like oats, a protein shake, some fruit, some yogurt, bit of cereal, and I get a kind of consistent response off the back of that. And maybe my pre-training nutrition might be a cup of coffee or something, and I'm just trying to kind of almost habit stack leading up to the training session. So every time, if I'm trying to progressively overload, what's went in is somewhat similar and consistent. Therefore, what comes out the other side is similar and consistent. Now, one of the most important things with nutrition, as I mentioned, is just habit-based nutrition, and know what you're having and when you're having it, and get like a bit of a routine. Now, the evening meal is probably our most varied meal on an evening. God. And then during the day, that's just more normal. Now, I don't mind eating the same things every day, and this is what I'll say to people. It's probably likely that you're going to do that. Just make sure you don't hate what you're eating every day. Now, I know my nutrition gets its desired outcome, which is performance, health and enjoyment, and obviously it's pushing us towards my goals. So whether I'm eating in a calorie deficit, maintenance or surplus, by the way, that's going to be determined by my gains or losses in body fat or maintenance of body fat. And this is how I quite easily am able to manipulate my diet without tracking calories. And calories tracking in and itself is somewhat fatiguing, and I want people to get away from the fact that they think they have to track. It is very evidence-based, energy balance, yes, but what we need to do is regulate caloric intake. And with people's nutrition, we're going to ask simple questions. Are you having protein with every feeding, especially if you're an athlete? Are you, or if you're in the pursuit of optimal muscle retention and fat loss, of course, are you eating vegetables with every meal so we can take care of satiety? So we've got this high volume, low calorie, intake of food. You're not drinking your calories. You're not grazing or snacking in between meals. The meals are large enough to satisfy you to the next one. Again, there's nothing wrong with tracking calories, but my question is to most people, is it necessary for long-term success? And is it something that you can do honestly and consistently? And if you can't do that, then maybe tracking calories isn't a sustainable thing for you right now. Sometimes it might be appropriate to track calories if you do have an extreme goal, such as going to a physique competition, or if you want to dial in your nutrition like to the T, but for the most people it's not necessary. So if you've tracked calories for a short period of time, maybe a couple of weeks, couple of months, even 6 months, a year, you should kind of build up some good habits and behaviors. Now, my diet, regardless if I'm tracking it or not, it's the same. It's the same foods. I don't change the landscape of my nutrition whether I'm tracking or not. And I often find tracking gives the illusion of control, not actual control. So for a lot of people, they think, oh, I need to track, and it's just not necessary. And they actually have now given themselves this belief that they cannot lose weight without tracking calories, and don't understand how people can lose weight without tracking calories. And it's quite easy. We just need to regulate calorie intake. Now, as well, what I like to do is get people's week to mirror pretty much week on week. So that doesn't necessarily mean you have to mirror day on day, because that's boring. I'm not about that life. So typically, especially when I'm in a calorie deficit, I do the majority of my dieting days, a larger deficit on say 5 days of the week, and then 2 days of the week I eat roughly at maintenance, if not in a slight surplus. Because obviously, as I mentioned, compliance and adherence is the critical thing within all of this. The problem is people are chained to a diet and they don't understand that they have all of this kind of control over the variables. And I see nutrition as more of a continuum as opposed to kind of this, start-stop thing, in, out, all or nothing. We can kind of manipulate our diet as going forward always. We're just looking at yesterday, we're looking at the next few days in advance. This whole day, this whole week thing, this week, 7 days in a week, this is just a man-made thing. So what we just have to do is kind of think outside the box a little bit. Of course, having a little bit accountability there, and obviously somebody there to bounce ideas off and soundboard with. This is the role of a coach, and a lot of people, don't outsource their struggles. Going to somebody who, you trust within what you do, if it's nutrition you're interested, someone like myself. But also you got to make sure that individual is got your best interests at heart. Now, there's a lot of coaches out there, but a lot of coaches lack empathy for people that have busy lives. And especially if you're looking at the coach that you want to work with, maybe you want to know that they've got experience in similar situations. Are they a parent? Do they have qualities that you desire? Beyond the superficial stuff, by the way. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on is just being a little bit more forgiving to yourself. And this is something that I did used to struggle with. I would be overly hard and I would be trying to push myself in the gym. The sessions would get worse and worse. Back then, I didn't deload. I didn't have a week where it was just simply recovery, load my training volume, ate a little bit more food, and just allowed myself to recover from all of the training that I was doing. So for me, it's just looking at the big picture and all of the stresses that are going in and all the stress management things that are coming out. Are you sleeping okay? Are you being too hard on yourself? Are you eating an appropriate amount of protein and calories given the things that are going on? Remember, psychological stress is in itself calorically expending, so we need to make wiggle room for that. And what a lot of people do is unfortunately go for maybe the less optimal choice, and where they could have maybe had something a little bit more productive towards their goals. Anyway, I hope that helps. Make sure that if you did enjoy that, of course, that you subscribe, maybe share it around a little bit, and I will catch you next time.